Psychiatrist and professor Robert Coles spent his career focusing on children. And then he began to concentrate on a particular aspect of a child's life, their faith. If research on children is undervalued, the overwhelming amount is on adults, a psychiatrist studying the spiritual side is in danger of being laughed at. Psychiatry is a science, after all, and spirituality, how do you measure that? And what sense of the deeper realities of life and meaning can a child have anyway? Dr. Coles persisted. One of the main things he did is he went around and he talked to children. He engaged them, interacted with them, listened to them, recorded what they said, and then analyzed what was going on. Here's a typical example that I like of Dr. Coles interacting with a group of kids, and this is from his book, The Spiritual Life of Children. In this case, it was a group of 7 10-year-olds that he met with at an Episcopal church in suburban Boston. And they went and they were sitting around, a Sunday school table, and he began to talk to them. He started by saying that he was a doctor and he was here to learn from them. He began by saying he wanted to know what they believed and what difference the church made to these 10-year-olds. A boy raised his hand and said, "If you want to know the difference the church makes, well, when you go home, you think of Jesus. Not all the time, but sometimes." Another girl chimed in, "Well, we're all supposed to follow Jesus, but he's not here the way he was in the Bible. He's here, he's there in church here, and when you go home afterwards, he's with you, sort of. Isn't that true?" This question seemed to be addressed to Dr. Coles, but he didn't know if he should chime in. Luckily, another boy spoke up. "There should be more than just thinking about Jesus. My dad says, if you don't try to be like him, it's a joke. That's what he says." Another girl, looking a little bored, spoke up. "Sometimes I feel too sleepy to go to church. Then I don't want to go. But when I don't go, sometimes I wish I had." "Me too," one of the other boys said. "I don't like coming all the time, but when you come home from church, my parents say I should pray on my own, and if we're good, then God will be happy." A child who had not yet uttered a word yet, a girl with blonde hair and a ponytail and an expressive face, asked the question, "How do you know if God is happy?" No one said anything. Dr. Coles saw a concentration on their faces. He could see they were thinking, but stymied. He was curious how they might respond. He didn't want to break the silence, not sure what would happen next. Then a boy made a comment, a question really. "How can you know if God is happy? Or if God is even sad?" Coles felt that at that instant the group became united, each one by one declaring God's inscrutability. "Yes, yep," several said. "How can you know?" Then the boy who'd asked the question said, "God knows us, but we don't know him. Maybe we will know him when we die and meet him, but that's only a maybe." Another girl asked, "Do you think we can meet God? Where would we meet him? What would you say to God?" More silence. A girl turned to Dr. Coles. "What do you think you would say to him, doctor?" Coles wasn't sure what to say. He offered, "I guess I'd start by saying hello." The children laughed. One child, however, wouldn't let him off the hook that easily. "Then what would you say?" Luckily, other children jumped in. One boy said, he met God, he'd confess his wrongs. Another boy pointed out that God, in the human form of Jesus, liked to eat and drink with his followers, so maybe the encounter would be over a table with food. Just then, their teacher arrived, and Coles had to end the session. Dr. Coles reflected on this encounter he just had. He was struck by the way these children, in their own vocabulary and age level, wrestled with the mystery of God's relationship with us. Even in this small encounter with 10-year-olds, he appreciated how dynamic their faith was. It seemed like curiosity was one of the gifts these children had. To these young people, the world was new and amazing, and God could inspire a sense of wonder. There was a content to their faith, a God who might actually care about us, want to meet us. For this group, Jesus seemed worth paying attention to, but they also had this strong sense of humility. They knew that they didn't have all the answers. They had an honesty that some of this religious stuff was going to be hard to grasp. In our gospel reading today, some well-meaning but clueless disciples want to keep children away from Jesus. Maybe they thought Jesus was so important and these children not so important. You know, children don't have money or influence. They don't have connections. They can't get big projects done. They don't have adult thinking skills. What are they going to do for the movement? But Jesus is adamant. "Let the children come to me," he says. What a great verse. Let the children come to me. He blesses them, celebrates them, not because they're the future, but they are wonderful, holy beings right now. And then this becomes an opportunity for Jesus to teach. Children become a symbol, a tool, a way in for people no matter what age, all of our ages. Jesus says, look at the children. Look at these children to receive the kingdom, God's kingdom. Be like them. Now, we don't want to be too naive about this. So it is helpful to have that clarification of a distinction between being childish and being childlike. We know about being childish. It is childish when people resort to name calling. Unfortunately, we happen to see a lot of that, even much in our world today. A lot of name calling, and it's not just on the playground. Adults do it too. We are acting childish when we demand our own way, when we don't notice our impact on other people, when we make a scene to get attention. That is all immature, probably not the qualities that Jesus is pointing to. But being childlike, when we watch these children and seeing them be childlike, and see in a child a sense of delight, Joy, delight, wonder, joy in the world. Have you ever been on a walk with a toddler? It can take a long time because they want to stop, squat down, and look at a dandelion and just take it in. Isn't that just marvelous, the way that children can be swept up in the littlest wonders of God's creation? Children can be good at being curious, maybe even curious about what God wants or feels or likes. Not having the answers, maybe even knowing you can never have the full answers, but searching together nonetheless. Some of being childlike is having trust, knowing that you're not in control and need to be looked out for, to maybe even trust in a God who is like a divine parent, who Jesus taught loves us and wants to engage with us, a Jesus who says, "Let the children come to me."